261,000 rands to investigate who the whistleblower is. This story is so crazy, has got so many twists and turns, but I'm going to show you in this video. And if you stay with me all the way until my biblical reaction, you'll see that it's important that we expose these things because they may be getting louder, kicking and screaming. It's not because they're getting stronger, it's because they can sense that they've already lost and South Africa will prosper. So you ready for the story? Unbelievable. Starts here.
What do we know about this deal between the pensions fund and Schuler Developers? It seems, from what you've said, money's already been paid over for a building Schuler Developers has no control over.
Stephen, the 36 million rands that has been paid to Schuler Developers is to refurbish the building inside, partition it into offices to house the head office of the Government Pensions Administration Agency.
Okay.
Except this has been paid even though Schuler Developers itself does not have access to the building, cannot execute that work to divide up the building and ready it for occupation. The reason for that is that it does not own the building. It does not lease the building from the owner, Attack, who confirmed it has absolutely had no dealings with Schuler Developers or with the Government Pensions Administration Agency, whose head office must move there. Now, that means the whole transaction, the 1 billion rand to lease the building over 10 years, is fraudulent and is actually fictitious, should never have been signed. The additional 239 million rands, of which that 36 million is down payment, should also never have been done because neither of the parties have access to that building. They don't own the building, and the owners of the building have their own tenants inside the building. The SARS office in Pretoria is in that building. Old Mutual has got an office there in that building, and they have valid leases. So this smacks of fraud, it smacks of corruption. It really smacks of a lot of things that should not have been done, and people should actually be in handcuffs.
Who at the pensions agency made these decisions? I mean, surely at the very least you would check if a company owns the building they're going to rent you. I mean, it's a bit like me renting you this desk when it's News from Africa's desk.
The chief executive of the pension funds, Kidiboni Madiehe, gave approval for the transaction after two committees, the bid evaluation and bid adjudication committee, went through the tender process and recommended the one company that actually has no property to lease, overlooking three others that had proof in the form of title deeds to the properties they were offering for this 10-year agreement to move the head office. And she appended her signature in approval to the transaction. The chairperson of the bid adjudication committee and the bid committee was both committees. They were chaired by one person and had exactly the same people as members. So we sit on this chair, this side, and decide we are the bid specification committee, and tomorrow we are the bid adjudication committee. There were 5 other members, and they are all listed in the News 24 story.
However, you haven't heard anything yet. Listen.
The Government Pensions Administration Agency has reportedly awarded a 500 million rand biometrics contract to a company without directors. News 24 says the acting CFO, Khaile Molebatsi, committed the State Pensions Administrator to paying 521 million rand to LCS Technologies, which is in the process of deregistration. Well, have monies started flowing to this company? How did it manage to win this contract?
Some of the money has indeed been paid, 43 million rands in total in 3 deposits for 4 invoices that went through to the company. There was an advertised tender for biometric systems. A company called LCS Technologies won it against 3 other bidders. The price was set at 67 million rands over a period of 5 years. In the last stages, basically, it was the only one negotiating with the Government Pensions Administration in terms of price. The others had been eliminated in the stages before that. But a year later, the acting chief financial officer entered into another contract because the contract he had negotiated, I'm saying he because he is the only person whose signature and name appears on the negotiation of the contract. When Mr. Mulibatsi, again alone, acting alone for the Government Pensions Administration Agency, signed a contract worth 500 million rands, adding to the 67 million rand. For this contract, there were no tenders. A strange thing is the contract is exactly the same as the contract that was already in place for 67 million rand.
So some very fancy duplication work here going on, Mr. Manjanja. Let's then try and make the viewer understand the importance of this pensions agency. So GPAA, the understanding is that it administers 3 trillion rand in pension assets on behalf of civil servants, basically government workers.
The administration of the pension services of civil servants whose funds are managed by the Government Employees Pension Fund, which must pass and approve its budget and major transactions. The GEPF did not approve this transaction. The GEPF knows nothing about this transaction, and the GEPF asked the Minister of Finance when a similar questionable deal had been done in July, asked Mr. Godongwana to please place the Government Pensions Administration Agency under the control of the GEPF, which the minister did not respond to. The GEPF has also declined to talk to me. It said we have our processes and we are dealing with this through the Minister of Finance. And the Minister of Finance has now instituted an investigation because News 24 has, since the beginning of August, been publishing a series of articles which at this point, with this particular contract, the damage in terms of exposure of the GPAA's money, which is cash belonging to civil servants, current and former, has amounted to 1.7 billion rand that has been placed at risk through these contracts that appear irregular and most of them fraudulent.
This all happened a month ago, and so you may be finding about it just now, and you're probably thinking, well, the minister just found out about this.
The minister has been aware of this, but it's only when you started publishing these series of investigations that he then places the CEO on suspension. Are you inferring that there is something suspicious, or the finance minister himself should be viewed with suspicion in this regard?
Far be it from me from making any such statements. I am only giving you the facts, and the facts as they stand is that in June, the first week of June, the internal audit committee of the GPAA held a meeting with the minister and said, Minister, here is our internal audit report. We are very concerned about these 8 or 9 transactions that will cost and have indeed cost the GPAA about 2 billion rand. Please subject these trades to a forensic investigation. And that did not happen. The Government Employees Pension Fund wrote to the minister in July 2025 on the 9th and said, Minister, please place this agency under our control, because it should have been under the GEPF control in the first place. Mr. Baleni, the chairman of that board, specifically wrote in that letter and said, had we had the power and authority to act against the GPAA, we would. The most concerning thing, probably, is that the Government Pensions Administration Agency has direct access and signing powers on the Government Employees Pension Fund's bank accounts. And therefore, it does and can withdraw money as it pleases. There are no checks and balances. And Mr. Badeni in that letter said, we are actually considering their access to our bank account, restricting them from this bank account, at which point they now do have free reign on it. The Minister of Finance did not act on all of those. There were serious and formal requests and recommendations pointing out the transgressions that were happening at the GPAA, and Mr. Kotongwana did not act until the 22nd of August.
Okay, so only on the 22nd of August the minister acted, and Minister Kotongwana replaces the suspended GPAA CEO and launches probe into procurement. Placed the CEO on precautionary suspension with full pay effective immediately. But the story is not over. Then Jan de Villiers, the head of the relevant portfolio committee in Parliament, then jumped on it and said, you need to come to Parliament and we need to get some answers about this because it makes no sense.
The Portfolio Committee on Public Service and Administration has noted with concern the latest media reports alleging irregularities at the Government Pensions Administration Agency. What does the Portfolio Committee know about the alleged ghosts contract? Does the Portfolio Committee establish if it indeed exists?
In performing our oversight function, we would have to call the CEO, well, the CEO has now been suspended, call the then acting CEO in front of our committee and gather these facts. We need to try and establish whether the GPAA had a need for this contract and for this building. So, I mean, obviously you need to understand how many square meters they need, how many personnel they were planning to staff. All of those details will still be forthcoming. But that's almost not the important thing at the moment. The important thing is that a lease agreement has been concluded for a building which does not exist. And it seems like money has already been paid.
The building doesn't exist? Has the committee established who owns the building?
Yes, the building is owned by a JSE-listed company called Attack, and they have just commented by saying it is already fully tenanted. I think PricewaterhouseCoopers is one of the tenants. So it's not even like the building is vacant and that it has been available. It is fully tenanted and it's owned by a JSE-listed company. So there's no way that the GPAA could have gone into that building in the first place. So this would be part of our oversight investigation. We would ask for all of the different documents to establish the facts. And I have to just say that this has all been marked as allegation and has been treated as allegations. But I must just say it is a very serious allegation. The GPAA cannot afford to use pensioners' money corruptly, and it would seem that if this amount of money, especially R1 billion, was earmarked to be paid in rent to a building which can't even be occupied by the GPA, that could be mass corruption.
Certainly sounds like mass corruption. But now, what happened to the people who asked questions about this deal before the CEO was put on leave?
Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana has appointed Study Mngomezulu as acting CEO of the Government Pensions Administration Agency. According to a News 24 article, Mngomezulu, the Deputy Director General at National Treasury, was appointed to replace Chief Executive Gidibone Madiene, who was suspended on Friday. Godongwana has also ordered a probe into alleged 1.2 billion rands procurement fraud. General Manager at the Public Servants Association, Claude Naika. Did you know or even suspect that something like the CEO of the GPAA is accused of was in fact happening?
Our members alerted us to some of the issues that they found that was irregular, and they obviously sought advice as to how to go about it. It's not only the fact that employees had alerted us to this or discovered there were some irregularities, but an internal audit report that was done into the agency's affairs actually highlighted certain irregularities and certain procurement transactions that was not kosher. A very senior official, which is a member of the PSA, obviously inquired from senior officials and the CEO, seeking clarity on certain transactions in which he was instructed to actually pay, which was not kosher and was not in accordance with procedure and good governance. And that obviously had a ripple effect, because what then happened upon inquiring about these transactions, he was then charged for insubordination. And when he was charged for insubordination, he obviously sought assistance from the Public Servants Association, which we gladly informed him as to how to go about this. And strangely enough, after having made representations on these as to why he was not insubordinate, he was subsequently put on precautionary suspension.
Yep. Asked questions, warned, clarified why they're asking and what they're asking for and why they're asking, suspended. But that's not all. On the day that CEO Mudiei was suspended, they signed a contract with 261,000 rands to a forensics company to say, go and investigate who blew the whistle, who ratted us out. Can't make this stuff up.
Public Interest South Africa says that they are appalled by media reports alleging serious irregularities at the Government Pensions Administrations Agency. Now, according to media reports, the GPAA has allegedly hired a forensic company, get this, to unmask those who exposed corruption within the institution. Now, the agency is responsible for administering funds for the Gauteng Employees Pension Fund, serving 1.7 million employees and pensioners. Chairperson of Public Interest SA, Mr. Tebogo Khas. Your initial reaction to this, because it seems truly surreal that someone or some people decide to do the right thing by exposing corruption, and then we have this cause of action to find out who they are.
You know, it took my breath away, if I may use that term, when I learned that the very people who are actually supposed to be praised and encouraged to do what these whistleblowers have done are actually now being hunted and hounded. But it is not surprising at the same time, because that has been the story of all whistleblowers up to this far, going back to those who raised the flag during state capture corruption. Even before the state capture corruption, you know that some of them actually had to go into hiding. We know of one, Ethel Williams, who's also still in exile in the UK.
And I think what makes it even more egregious is the fact that this will be public funds that are now going to be used. The fund, who will be paying for this? Because according to what we read, there's now a contract that has been issued to unmask whoever exposed this corruption. So public money going to be used to track down whistleblowers?
Yeah. Public money, and specifically even public money that is supposed to be managed on behalf of pensioners. And we know how squeezed the economy is, how squeezed everybody is. You are talking about the pocket or empty pockets, or in fact, some people don't even have pockets anymore because you live from hand to mouth.
Okay, so let's get this right. Somewhere in July, the auditors tell Minister Godongwana stuff is shady here. Nothing happens. Eventually, the paper comes out. These people are renting fake buildings, renovating fake buildings, paying companies that don't even have directors. When it all comes up in the paper, Minister Godongwana then suspends the CEO. Then it comes out that the employees who didn't want to make some of these payments were also, by their bosses, put on suspension for insubordination. Then new CEO comes in. But as new CEO comes in, on the day that the old CEO was suspended, a contract was signed with a forensic company to go and investigate who in the world ratted us out. Who is the whistleblower? 261,000 rands worth of an investigation. So what's the status quo? Well, here's what it is. The alleged co-conspirators are still at the Pension Administration Agency. After the two are suspended, who are implicated in the 2 billion scandal, the others who were involved get to stay at work and assist the investigation against them. That's where we are right now. Parliament releases a statement. They need Treasury and Minister Godongwana and the relevant people to come and explain. So, this is the country that we live in. Phew, my biblical reaction. Yet your eyes and your heart are for nothing but your covetousness. Your eyes, it's all you see, and your heart is all that drives you, are nothing but your covetousness. That's why when I hear anyone do black party speak, I know I'm just listening to a greedy, lying thief. And if you don't believe me, ask Floyd Shibambu. He was at the ANC. He says they are thieves. He was at the EFF. He says they are thieves. He was at the MK. He says they are thieves. Basically, he says everybody that does comrade speak, revolutionary, blah, 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 he says they just want to loot. Their eyes and their heart are for nothing but covetousness. Covetousness is greed. But this is where it will all end. The comrades are on their way out and they know it, and that's why they're looting at the highest levels. But good thing is this: South Africa shall not lament for them. We won't be saying, shame, our brothers and sisters. We will not lament for them. We will not be saying, alas, our people of Mandela, alas, remember those great times of glory. But they will be buried with the burial of a donkey, dragged and cast out beyond the gate of South Africa. The ANC, as it drops, is gonna have no one wanting to hear the word ANC. And that's their destination. Forget renewal, forget excuses, forget whataboutisms. They are gone, and they will have the burial of a donkey. That's why I always remind you, no man can serve two masters. Either you love the one or hate the other, or you'll despise the one and honor the other. You cannot serve God and Karl Marx. Now, I know you are subscribed, but go back to that button. On the right is the bell. Click it and select all so that you stop crying that you missed the video when it came up. All right, cool. Let's make history together. Cheers.